Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are walking into a minefield.
It is putting it lightly. I mean, this is probably the most volatile terrain we have ever covered.
We're tackling a subject that's usually reserved for, whispered conversations in the break room, screaming matches at 2:20 a.m., or those splashy tabloid headlines. We are talking about infidelity.
Cheating. Betrayal.
Whatever word you want to use, it is one of the most painful, destructive, and yet strangely universal human experiences.
It's the ultimate taboo, isn't it? It's the thing everyone condemns, yet the statistics show it's happening all around us.
Yeah.
And that paradox, that gap between what we say we believe and what humans actually do, that's exactly why we need to talk about it.
Right. But here's the deal for everyone listening, and I want to be super clear about this right up front.
Okay.
We are not here to gossip. We're not here to judge. And we are definitely not here to decide who the villain is and who the victim is in any specific story.
No.
If you're looking for a moral sermon or a how to catch a cheater guide, this isn't it.
Exactly. Our mission today is to suspend the judgment. We're looking at a stack of sources that treat infidelity not as a soap opera scandal, but as a complex system.
The system, yeah.
We're looking at it as an intersection of biology, psychology, and sociology.
We want to look under the hood.
Yeah.
We want to move away from that initial shock of how could they do that, which is usually where the conversation just stops.
Right. It just ends there.
And move toward understanding the actual mechanisms at play. We're asking the big, uncomfortable questions. Is this a moral failing? Is it a biological glitch?
Right.
Or is it a symptom of something else entirely?
And to answer those questions, we have pulled together a really fascinating and, frankly, kind of intense mix of sources.
It is intense.
We have a transcript from a middle ground debate that features real people, actual cheaters, sitting across from people who have been cheated on.
And let me tell you, having read through that transcript,
Right.
it gets raw.
Yeah.
It's not polished. It is real pain, real confusion, and a lot of anger.
It really is. But to balance that raw emotion, we have a breakdown of the neurochemistry involved, literally what a brain looks like on an affair.
Okay.
We have psychological profiles of the different types of cheaters and an analysis called the anatomy of betrayal.
So we've got the science, the psychology, and the lived experience all in one deep dive.
All of it.
Let's start with the biology, because I think this is the part that surprises people the most. We like to think we're rational adults, right?
We'd like to think so.
We pay our taxes, we make grocery lists, we show up to work, we stay faithful because we promise we would. But one of our sources describes the brain in a state of temptation in a very specific, very humbling way.
Oh, I know exactly the analogy you're talking about. It calls the brain a toddler with a credit card.
That image stuck with me so hard. A toddler with a credit card. It's chaotic, it's dangerous, and it has zero concept of the future bill.
None.
Break that down for us. What is actually happening in the skull when that analogy applies?
So this comes from that neurochemical breakdown we looked at. It basically says we have these two warring factions in our heads at all times.
Okay.
In one corner, you have the prefrontal cortex. This is the adult in the room. This is the newest part of the brain, evolutionarily speaking.
Right, the logic center.
The logic, the morality, consequences, future planning. It's the part of you that says, I love my partner, we have a mortgage, we have a history, and blowing up my life for a fling is a terrible idea.
That's the responsible parent.
Mm.
That's the part that knows the bill's going to come due eventually and that interest rates are high.
Exactly. But in the other corner, you have the limbic system. And the limbic system is ancient. It is evolutionarily much, much older than the prefrontal cortex. It deals with impulse, survival, fight or flight, and most importantly, reward.
Okay.
And in the face of high-stakes temptation, the limbic system is that toddler. It doesn't care about the mortgage. It doesn't care about the consequences next week. It wants what it wants, and it wants it right now.
And the terrifying part that the source points out is that this isn't a fair fight. You'd think the adult would win, but that's not always the case.
No, it is not a fair fight. In a straight-up battle, especially when you are tired or stressed or intoxicated or just feeling lonely, that toddler often wins.
Why? Why is it stronger?
Because the limbic system is just wired to be stronger. It overrides the logic. It hijacks the steering wheel. It's a faster system. By the time the prefrontal cortex wakes up and says, hey, maybe we shouldn't send that text, the limbic system has already hit send.
Wow. And the fuel for that hijacking is dopamine. Now, we hear about dopamine all the time. It's the buzzword for everything from social media likes to chocolate.
Everything.
But this source makes a critical distinction about what dopamine actually is in the context of relationships.
This is so crucial. Most people think dopamine is the chemical of pleasure. They think it's the liking chemical.
Right, the happiness chemical.
But neuroscience tells us it's actually the chemical of wanting. It is the chemical of novelty and pursuit. It's not the feeling of having the thing. It's the drive to get the thing. It motivates you to seek.
So it's the anticipation. It's the hunger, not the meal.
Precisely. And this leads to what one of the sources called the fireworks versus polite applause problem.
I loved this comparison. Walk us through it, because I think this explains so much of the why that people struggle with.
Okay, so imagine you're in a long-term relationship. You love your partner. You are safe. You're comfortable. Your brain has habituated to them.
It knows what to expect.
Right. That initial chemical firestorm you felt in the first year, the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the constant racing heart that has settled down. Your brain recognizes your partner as normal.
Which is a good thing for stability, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't live in a firestorm forever. You'd never get any work done.
Correct. It's healthy. It's sustainable. But neurochemically, when you see your spouse of 10 years, your brain gives them a polite round of applause.
Yeah.
Yay, we're safe, we're good, nice to see you. It's a low-hum satisfaction.
Good job, brain. We are secure. Return to baseline.
Right. But then you meet someone new, and here's the kicker.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be someone better. They don't have to be smarter or more attractive or funnier than your spouse. They just have to be new.
That's the key variable. Novelty.
Novelty, the brain, specifically that limbic toddler, goes absolutely haywire. It screams, unknown quantity, potential reward, investigate.
Oh, wow.
And it dumps a massive amount of dopamine into your system just because this person is new territory to explore. It's the fireworks.
So the potential cheater feel this rush, these butterflies, this intense spark, and they interpret that feeling.
They do.
They say, oh my God, I must be in love with this new person. The magic is gone with my partner because I don't feel this with them anymore.
Exactly. And the source argues that is a fundamental, tragic misinterpretation of biology.
A misinterpretation.
It's not love. It's a dopamine spike. It's your brain reacting to a shiny object. But because it feels so powerful, much more powerful than the polite applause of the long-term marriage people mistake it for destiny, they think this feeling is the truth, when actually
the feeling is just chemistry.
This feeling is just chemistry, exactly.
And this leads into how the addiction cycle begins. Because it rarely starts with two people just jumping into bed, right? It starts way, way before that. The source calls it the dopamine drip.
Yes. This is the danger of the innocent interaction. A DM here, a joke there, a lingering glance at the coffee machine.
Little things.
Every time you engage in that little micro-interaction, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine, a little cookie. It rewards you for engaging with the new person.
It's training you, like Pavlov's dog.
It is absolutely training you. And the source describes this as the brain gaslighting itself.
That's a strong term. Gaslighting usually refers to abusing someone else. How does the brain gaslight itself?
Well, the prefrontal cortex, that logic center, is saying, hey, wait a minute. This is dangerous. We are married. We shouldn't be texting this late.
Right. The adult is speaking up.
But the limbic system, the toddler, says, relax. You're being paranoid. We're just texting. It's just a joke. We're just friends. Don't be so uptight. It minimizes the behavior to keep the dopamine flowing.
So you are essentially rewiring your brain to crave this person before you've even touched them.
Yes.
You're building the addiction pathways under the guise of friendship.
Exactly. You are building a chemical bond in the dark. And then it gets even messier when you introduce the stress hormones. This was the part that really clicked for me regarding why people stay in affairs even when they feel guilty.
Yeah, that seems like a paradox.
Because you assume if someone feels guilty, they would stop.
Right. I feel bad, so I will stop doing the bad thing. That's the logical progression. That's how adults act.
But the biology works in reverse. Let's talk about the guilt relief loop.
Lay it out.
So you're cheating or you're on the verge of it. That creates a massive amount of internal stress. You're lying, you're hiding your phone, you're looking over your shoulder.
Your body is freaking out.
Your cortisol levels, the stress hormone are spiking. You feel anxious and terrible.
Okay. High cortisol.
Yeah.
You feel awful. You have pit in your stomach.
So your body is screaming for relief. It wants to reach homeostasis. What is the quickest, most effective way to lower cortisol?
Dopamine.
Dopamine and oxytocin, exactly. And where is the most readily available source of that intense dopamine hit?
The affair partner.
The affair partner. So you feel guilty about the affair, which creates stress. To relieve that stress, you run back to the affair partner to get the dopamine hit, which lowers the stress.
Wait, so you're using the source of the problem?
To solve the problem.
That is diabolical. It's a self-perpetuating machine. The more guilty you feel, the more you need them to make you feel better.
It is a classic addiction cycle. It is the exact same mechanism as drug addiction or gambling. And this explains the withdrawal phenomenon the source mentions. When you try to stop, say, the affair is exposed, or you decide to end it cold turkey, you go into literal physical withdrawal.
And we aren't just talking about being sad or listening to breakup songs.
No, the source emphasizes this. It's not just, I miss them. It's a chemical crash. You dopamine tanks, your cortisol skyrockets, you feel physical pain, tremors, depression, panic attacks, obsession.
And the cheater probably interprets that pain as proof of love.
That's the tragic part. They think, look how much I hurt. This pain is so deep, it must mean I truly love them.
If it hurts this much to be apart, we must be soulmates.
Right. But the science says no. That is your brain screaming for its fix. It's the pattern it misses, not necessarily the person. You are grieving the dopamine, not the relationship.
That is such a crucial distinction. It's the pattern, not the person. Because often the affair partner is just a projection, right? They're a vessel for that dopamine.
Yeah, precisely. In the cold light of day, without the secrecy and the chemical spikes, the affair partner is often just a regular person with flaws. But in the cycle, they are a drug.
Okay, this leads us perfectly into the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Because if biology is the engine driving the car, psychology is the map the cheater is using to justify where they're going.
That's a great way to put it.
We have this concept from the Anatomy of Betrayal source. Cognitive dissonance.
Ah, yes. This is the mental discomfort you feel when your actions don't match your beliefs. It's a psychological law. We cannot live with that friction for long.
So most people believe I am a good person, I'm a loyal partner, I have integrity.
A good self-image.
But then they're sending flirty texts or sneaking around hotels, and those two realities cannot coexist. I am a good person and I am lying to my spouse are in direct conflict.
So you have two choices to resolve that friction. Change the behavior.
Stop cheating.
Or change the belief. Rewrite the story.
And the source argues that for the cheater, it is often easier to change the story than to change the behavior.
Much, much easier. This is where we see the self-serving bias. They rewrite the narrative to make the cheating acceptable or even necessary.
What are the common scripts? What does that rewritten story sound like?
Oh, you hear things like, my partner doesn't understand me anymore, or I've given so much to this family, I've sacrificed my whole life, I deserve something just for myself.
Or the classic blame shifting. If my partner really loved me, they would have noticed I was unhappy. They drove me to this.
Right. That is a form of what psychologists call moral disengagement. You temporarily turn off your moral compass, or you convince yourself that the cheating is actually a survival mechanism.
A survival mechanism, like what?
I had to do this to stay in the marriage.
I cheated to save the relationship. That's a mental gymnastic move.
It's a gold medal mental gymnastic move.
Yeah.
But people believe it. They have to believe it. Otherwise, the guilt would crush them.
There was a visual metaphor in the research that I found really helpful for understanding how people maintain this double life. The box theory.
Compartmentalization, yes. This is how cheaters sleep at night without having a nervous breakdown.
So how does it work?
They essentially split their life into two completely separate boxes. Box one is the loyal partner. In this box, they are a good spouse, a good parent. They go to soccer games. They say, I love you.
And they genuinely mean it in that moment. That's the thing that confuses the betrayed partner later. But we had a great weekend. You seem so happy.
And they were, because they were in box one. But then there's box two. This is the secret life. This is where the affair lives. And the psychological rule is
the boxes must never touch.
the boxes must never, ever touch. It's like matter and antimatter. If they touch, explosion.
Total annihilation.
Exactly. As long as they keep them separate, they can maintain the delusion that they are still a good person. They can tell themselves, I haven't stopped loving my partner because that love is safe in box one. Box two is just a hobby. It's a stress reliever. It's a separate universe.
Until the boxes crash into each other.
Which they almost always do. You leave a receipt out, a text pops up on the CarPlay screen, a friend sees you at a restaurant.
And boom.
And that's when the psychological house of cards collapses. Because suddenly you can't be two people anymore. You have to integrate the villain and the hero into one person. And that is devastating.
Now, are certain people just wired for this? The sources touch on personality traits. We aren't saying everyone who cheats is a narcissist, but there are correlations, right?
There are definitely vulnerabilities. Attachment style is a big one.
How so?
The research suggests that people with avoidant attachment, those who are uncomfortable with too much intimacy, might cheat to keep a safe distance.
That seems counterintuitive. If you avoid intimacy, why get involved with another person?
Because an affair isn't real intimacy, it's a way of sabotaging the real intimacy with your spouse.
Okay.
If I have a secret, you can't fully know me. And if you can't fully know me, you can't fully consume me. It's a defense mechanism. I'll hurt you before you can hurt me.
And on the flip side, what about the anxious attachment type?
They might cheat because they are a bottomless pit for validation. One person can't provide enough reassurance for them. They need a backup generator.
So if their partner is busy or distant, they panic.
They panic and look for someone else to tell them they're worthy.
Then, of course, we have the dark triad traits. This sounds like a supervillain group, but it's a psychological term.
It does, doesn't it? It's narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy.
So these are the high-risk groups.
Very high risk. People high in these traits view others as tools or extensions of themselves. They have high entitlement, I deserve this, and low empathy, I don't care how this affects you.
But the source was careful to say not every cheater is a psychopath.
Oh, absolutely not. Correct. Most cheaters are not psychopaths. Most are just normal people with poor boundaries and unmet needs. But if you do have those dark triad traits, the leap to cheating is much, much shorter.
Why is that?
You don't have to do as much mental gymnastics to justify it because you already believe you are an exception to the rules.
Let's get into the specifics, because I think it's dangerous to paint all cheaters with the same brush. One of our sources breaks this down into 7 profiles of infidelity.
A taxonomy of betrayal.
Yeah, exactly. I want to run through these because I think listeners might recognize some of these archetypes either in stories they've heard or, unfortunately, in their own lives.
Let's do it. It helps to see that there are different motivations driving the behavior.
First up, the hunter.
This is exactly what it sounds like. This is the person who treats cheating as a sport. They enjoy the pursuit.
The chase.
The chase, yeah. The source describes them as looking for prey, whether it's someone with low self-esteem they can manipulate or someone high status they can conquer.
So for the hunter, is it about the sex or something else?
It's about the win. The sex is just the trophy. It's about power. I can have this person. Once they have them, they often get bored and move on. They need the chase to feel alive.
That is chilling. Okay, then we have the hero. This one feels more insidious because it disguises itself as kindness.
The hero complex. Yes. This is the person who swoops in to save someone. Maybe the affair partner is going through a rough time, a bad marriage, a crisis.
Right.
The cheater listens, offers support, offers a shoulder to cry on. They feel validated by being the savior. They tell themselves, I'm helping this person. They need me.
I'm just being a good friend. That's the gateway drug.
Right, until that help turns physical. And even then, they frame it as an act of service or love. It validates their ego as a good, helpful person, even while they're betraying their own partner.
So they get to be the villain in their marriage while being the hero in the affair.
Precisely.
And on the flip side of the hero is the wounded.
The wounded cheater is the one looking for a hero. They are in pain, maybe past trauma, maybe addiction, maybe just deep insecurity or depression.
So they're not hunting for sport.
No, they're hunting for anesthesia. They want the pain to stop.
They want to numb out.
Exactly. They use the affair as a soothing mechanism. When I'm with this person, I forget my problems. They aren't trying to hurt their spouse. They're just trying to stop hurting themselves.
Then there is the opportunist.
This is the chaos element. There's no deep psychological plan here. There's no hunting. It's just opportunity.
Right place, right time, or wrong time.
Exactly. They're at a conference or a bar or a reunion. The energy is there. The inhibition is low. Maybe there's alcohol involved. And they say, why not?
It's impulsive. The door is open. I'll walk through.
Right. And these are often the ones who are most shocked by their own behavior the next day. They think, I don't know why I did that. It wasn't premeditated, but it was still a failure of character in the moment.
Okay, then we have the professional.
This is the transactional cheater. They pay for sex. And the psychology here is often about safety and strict compartmentalization.
So they don't want an emotional affair.
No. They don't want a girlfriend or boyfriend. They don't want to talk about their feelings. They want the release without the risk of falling in love.
They see it as a service.
They view it as a service, like getting a massage or getting a car wash. It helps them keep it strictly in box 2. In their mind, I'm not cheating emotionally, I'm just renting a body.
Wow.
They argue that this protects their marriage because they aren't giving their heart away.
Which is a hell of a rationalization.
Yeah?
And the last two in the profile list were the fetish cheater and the sex addiction cheater.
Yeah, the fetish cheater is looking for a specific act their partner won't do. It's very specific, very targeted.
And the sex addiction cheater.
That's someone acting out of a compulsive cycle. It might spiral from porn to strip clubs to affairs. It's less about the relationship and more about that dopamine delivery system we talked about earlier, but in a hyper-compulsive way.
They can't stop even if they want to.
Right. It's an addiction.
There was one other category mentioned in the psychological breakdown that I found really interesting, maybe because it's so cowardly. The exit cheater.
Oh, this is a very common one. This is the person who wants out of the relationship. They know it's over, but they lack the courage to just sit down and say, I'm leaving.
They can't face the conflict.
Or the tears or the guilt, so they use cheating as a sledgehammer.
How does that work?
Sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, they blow up the relationship. They create a situation where the breakup becomes inevitable. They force the partner to be the one to end it, or they give themselves a reason to leave.
It's like pulling the pin on a grenade and dropping it in the living room because you don't know how to walk out the front door.
That is a perfect description. It's destruction as an exit strategy. It leaves a massive amount of collateral damage, but it gets them out.
Okay, so we have the biology, we have the profiles.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the gray areas. This is where that middle ground transcript gets really heated.
For sure.
This was a debate between real people, and one of the biggest sticking points was the definition of cheating itself. Specifically, the battle between physical versus emotional cheating.
This is always a huge debate. In the transcript, you had people arguing that emotional cheating is actually worse.
I can see that argument. One of the participants said physical cheating is a betrayal of the body, but emotional cheating is a betrayal of the inner depths. It's giving away the intimacy that belongs to the relationship.
But then others argued that physical is worse because, as one person put it, you can't unring that bell. There's a finality to the physical act, the fluids, the risk of disease, the imagery that some find impossible to forgive.
The physical act breaks the monogamy contract in a very literal way.
It does.
But there was genuine confusion about what emotional cheating even is. I think a lot of listeners struggle with this too. Where is the line? If I tell a joke to a coworker, is that cheating? If I complain about my spouse to a friend, is that cheating?
And the definition that seemed to land in the group, and what most therapists would agree with, is about secrecy and energy.
Secrecy and energy.
Emotional cheating is having a romantic relationship or connection that your partner isn't aware of, where you are investing emotional energy that should be going to your primary relationship.
The secrecy is the litmus test.
It is. One participant gave the high school sweetheart example. She was talking to an old flame online. Nothing physical happened.
Okay.
But she admitted she was talking to him like he was her boyfriend. She was sharing her heart, her daily life, her fears, things she should have been bringing to her partner.
She was giving the best parts of her day to the screen, not the spouse.
And critically, she was hiding it.
Right.
If you have to hide the messages, or if you would be uncomfortable with your partner reading them over your shoulder, you are likely in emotional cheating territory. It's that intimacy theft. You are building a world that your partner isn't allowed to enter.
Another huge debate in that transcript was about attraction. Is it okay to find other people attractive? Or is that the first step toward doom?
This was a real clash of worldviews. You had the strict, almost religious view that said, no, I don't look at other men. Attraction leads to problems. I bounce my eyes. It was very absolute.
If I don't look, I can't touch.
Yeah.
A zero tolerance policy.
Right. And then you had the human view, the view that says, I have eyes, biology doesn't turn off just because I put on a ring.
Right.
This side argued that attraction is involuntary. It's that dopamine toddler, again noticing something shiny. But acting on it is the choice.
They brought it the transparency test, which I thought was a fascinating counter strategy. The idea that if you find someone attractive, you should actually tell your partner.
Radical honesty.
Yeah.
The theory is that secrecy feeds the affair. If I say to my partner, wow, that person is really attractive, I am dragging the secret out into the sunlight. It removes the power.
It disarms it.
It becomes just a comment, not a hidden desire simmering in the dark. It acknowledges the humanity without acting on the impulse. It says, I see this, but I'm choosing you.
That takes a lot of security in a relationship to do that.
It takes a huge amount.
Okay, I want to touch on the in-love debate. Can you be in love with your partner and still cheat? Because the stereotype is, if you cheated, you never loved me.
The group was split, but the no side made a compelling argument about the definition of love. They argued that love is a verb. It's an action.
That's a feeling.
Not just a feeling. And if you are betraying someone, you aren't loving them in that moment. You might have feelings for them, but you aren't loving them.
But the yes side, including some of the cheaters, talked about this soul on fire feeling.
Right.
They described loving the plan of their marriage, the stability, the kids, the history, but feeling this uncontrollable chemical pull toward the affair partner.
That is where the concept of limerence comes in.
Limerence, what's that?
Limerence is a psychological state. It's that obsession, that intrusive thinking, that desperate need for reciprocation. It mimics love, but it's actually more like a chemical madness.
So it's not love.
It's often what people mistake for true love during an affair. They think, I've never felt this way before. Or the universe is pulling us together.
When really it's just their neurotransmitters.
Exactly. It's not fate, it's chemistry.
And this leads to the 70-30 theory. This explains so much for me. If there is one takeaway listeners grab today, this might be it.
This is a great framework for understanding why happy people cheat. The idea is that no one person, no matter how amazing, can give you 100% of what you need.
Impossible.
It's impossible. So maybe your partner gives you 70%. They're reliable, they're a great parent, they're your best friend, they share your values.
That's a solid A-. That's a great life.
It is, but maybe they lack the 30%. Maybe they don't like the same music, or they aren't adventurous in bed, or they don't get your obsession with 18th century poetry. Whatever it is.
So you're walking around with a 30% deficit.
And then you meet someone, and this new person, they have that missing 30%. They love the poetry, they're wild, they're spontaneous.
And that 30% feels huge because you're starving for it.
Exactly. It feels like 100% because it's the only part you're focused on. So you cheat to get the 30%. But in doing so, you lose the 70%.
You blow up the stable, loving life for the fragment.
And the tragedy is the math. The math is brutal because usually once the affair settles down and the real world kicks in, you wake up to realize the new person only has that 30%.
Wow.
They don't have the history, the stability, the trust. You traded a nearly complete life for a fragment.
You don't realize the value of the 70% until it's gone.
It connects back to that falling versus staying concept. The debate highlighted that falling in love, or lust, or limerence, is often an accident. It's a chemical reaction. You trip and fall.
But staying in love...
Staying in love is a discipline. It's a daily choice to value the 70% over the shiny 30%.
Let's move to the aftermath. The affair has happened, the grenade has gone off. Now what? The middle ground debate got very intense regarding the question, do you tell?
This is the ultimate ethical dilemma. You had one side arguing for the psychological damage perspective. They said, if I tell my partner, I am going to destroy their world. I am going to traumatize them. I am going to ruin their memories of us. So the noble thing to do is to carry the guilt myself. I will suffer in silence and spare them the pain.
It's the ignorance is bliss argument. What they don't know won't hurt them.
But the other side called that the selfish confession in reverse. Or rather, they argued that withholding is control.
How so?
They argued that by not telling, you are robbing your partner of agency. You are manipulating their reality. They think they're in a faithful marriage, but they aren't. They're living in a lie that you constructed.
They don't have all the facts to make their own choices.
Right. They deserve to know the truth so they can decide what they want to do with their life. It's about respect. Even if the truth hurts, respecting them enough to give them the map of their own life.
And there was also the argument about the selfish confession.
Right. Some people confess just to dump their guilt. I feel so bad I can't sleep, so I'm going to tell you.
Here, you carry this heavy rock for a while.
Exactly. Now I feel relieved because I was honest, but now you were devastated. That's messy. But the consensus, especially from those who were cheated on, was put the ball in my court.
They wanted to know.
Even if it hurts, they wanted the truth. Plus, the intuition factor. We always know deep down.
That came up a lot in the transcript.
It did. People said, I knew something was off. And when you deny it, that is gaslighting. Feeling like something is wrong, asking about it, and being told, you're crazy, you're paranoid, that is psychologically abusive.
So confirming the truth, even if it's painful, validates their sanity.
It does. It says, I wasn't crazy. I was right.
Let's talk about forgiveness. Is it possible, or is the relationship just doomed?
It varies varies wildly. You had some who said, physical betrayal is a deal breaker, period. I can't unring the bell. I can't look at you without seeing them.
No coming back from it.
For them, no. But for others, it was about forgiveness as a tool for the self.
Meaning what?
I forgive you not so we can get back together, but so I don't have to carry this acid of anger forever.
Right. Forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation. You can forgive and still leave.
Or, as one person put it, you can just become indifferent. You move on. You don't hate them, you just don't care anymore.
The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference.
Exactly.
Now, we have to touch on a controversial part of the discussion, the role of trauma and abuse. There's a segment where they discussed exit affairs or cheating as a safety net.
This is a very sensitive area, and it forces us to look at the nuance. The argument presented was that for some people in abusive, dangerous, or controlling relationships, starting a connection with someone else is a survival mechanism.
It gives them the confidence to leave.
Exactly. It's lining up a soft landing. If you have been beaten down, told you are worthless, isolated from friends, having someone else look at you with kindness might be the only thing that gives you the strength to pack your bags.
So in that specific context, the cheating is almost a ladder out of a hole.
Yes. And while the strict moralists in the group argued two wrongs don't make a right, the others argued that reality is gray.
It's not that simple.
It's not. If cheating saves someone from physical violence by giving them a way out, can we label it as purely evil? It challenges the black and white view of morality.
It really emphasizes that while the act is the same sex with someone else, the context can be wildly different.
Context is everything. A serial cheater who is a narcissist looking for a thrill is very different from a battered spouse looking for a lifeline.
So we have unpacked the brain, the psychology, the types, and the fallout. What is the synthesis here? Because we started by asking if we can outsmart our chemistry.
The synthesis is that cheating is rarely just about sex. It's about unmet needs, it is about emotional immaturity, and it's about that chemical hijack we talked about.
Right.
It's the clash between our biology, which craves novelty, and our modern commitment to monogamy.
In the brain hack solution mentioned in the Neuroscience source. I love this. It's not about fighting the dopamine. It's about redirecting it.
Exactly. You can't stop your brain from craving dopamine. That's like trying to stop your heart from beating. But you can change the source.
So if the brain wants novelty,
give it novelty within the relationship.
So instead of a new partner, you need new experiences.
New restaurants, new hobbies, new travel, new experiences in the bedroom, anything that breaks the routine. The source says, the brain doesn't need a new person, it needs a new pattern.
A new pattern.
If you can generate that newness with your long-term partner, you can trick the toddler with the credit card into being excited about the relationship you already have.
It's active maintenance. It's not just sitting back and hoping the love lasts.
It's knowing that polite applause is comfortable, but you need to manufacture some fireworks occasionally to keep the machinery running.
So here's the provocative thought I want to leave the listeners with today.
Yeah.
We've talked about how the brain is wired for novelty. If we acknowledge that our brains are these toddlers with credit cards, does that mean monogamy is unnatural?
Or does it mean that monogamy is actually the ultimate act of being human?
Say more about that.
Think about it. If our biology is the toddler, then choosing faithfulness is the act of the adult. It is a daily, conscious rebellion against our baser instincts.
It's a choice.
It is saying, I feel the chemistry, I see the shiny object, but I choose the history, I choose the commitment.
I choose the 70% over the 30%.
Exactly. And that choice is what makes it meaningful. If it were easy, if we were biologically wired to only want one person forever without effort, faithfulness wouldn't be a virtue, it would just be a default setting.
The fact that it's hard is what makes it valuable.
That's the argument, yes.
That is a powerful place to land. To the learner listening today, we hope this deep dive gave you a new lens to look at this complex, painful, and deeply human behavior, not to excuse it, but to navigate the messiness with your eyes wide open.
Knowledge is the best defense.
Thanks for diving in with us. We will catch you on the next one.
See you then.